Hello, this is Justin at the Tech Train again here. Welcome to lesson 14 in this tutorial series on learning to program in Small Basic. Now, in the last lesson, we looked at string manipulation. So we looked at a few things that we could do with strings of text, including getting the length of a string and also using the method getSubtext so that we could pull out part of a string. And in this case, we pulled out just one letter at a time, starting from the end of the string, so that we could reverse it. And in that way, we created a palindrome checker. If you haven't seen that video, you might want to pop back and just have a look at that now. Now, what I said in that video was that I was going to look at how to create a very simple chatbot, and that's what we're going to look at today. How to make a chatbot. You probably have come across something like this already. If you have Siri or Alexa or anything like that, then you've already had a conversation with a computer. So you've spoken to it and it seems to have understood what you wanted it to do. What it's doing is a number of little clever tricks, but at its heart, it's using this. It's listening for the words that you're saying and it's looking for particular keywords. You're not going to say the exact same thing every single time. You might perhaps ask for it to play a particular song. And so you might simply say, Siri, play this song. Or you might say, Siri, can you play this song? Or Siri, can you please play that song? So, you're going to use different words and phrases. And so Siri isn't programmed to look out for the entire phrase that you say. It's looking for subtext. It's looking for the individual words. And it's ignoring all the fluff and just pulling out what it thinks are the most significant words and responding to that. So, I mean, if you don't believe me, what you can do is maybe put in some weird words next time. So next time you want Siri to play a song, instead of saying the word please, say the word banana. And the chances are it'll probably understand you still. So that's what we're looking at here. I'm going to show you a demonstration. Before showing you the code, I'm going to run the program. This is something that I do with my students at school sometimes, and before they realize how it's done, it does seem as though the computer is genuinely understanding us. So I've got it running here. I'm just going to greet it. I'm going to say hello. And then we wait for the computer. There it is. Oh, it's another human. Hello. Let's start off politely. So, how are you today? And I'm feeling fantastic. Thank you for pretending to care. I know a lot of my students are missing school at the moment. Let's see if the computer is missing school. So, are you missing school? I don't need school, I am the internet. Okay, there we are. What about the teachers, perhaps? What about your teachers? And the computer says, I like teachers. They make funny noises when when you crash, I think is what you mean there. And we do. What else? Should we ask it for a joke? Because I know that Siri can tell you jokes, can't you? Can you please tell me a joke? What does the computer say? Why did the cross-eyed teacher have to quit? He couldn't control his pupils. There we are. We can see how we can sort of go on with this conversation. But let's go now. So I'm going now. Goodbye. And the computer says, I don't care where you're going, as long as it's far away. There we are, how nice. So there's all sorts of things that we can put there, and all of it is using getSubtext. So the computer is looking at what you say and is pulling out one keyword and responding to that one keyword. And if you put enough of them in there, it can be quite convincing. So let's see how we do this then. I'm going to start with a new program here. So I'm going to start this new. And I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm just going to show you how to get started on this one because it'll be up to you to create a program which has personality. And I think that's really important. Mine was a little sarcastic. I've done this in school with classes and some students have done them so that the computer sounds like a pirate. So we've got a pirate chatbot. I've had ones that are very, very rude, ones which are shy. So you can have a bit of a personality in this, which is good fun. Let's just start off. We're doing the text window here. We're using the text window, not the graphics window. So let's start off with that. And I think one of the things that helps is to have different coloured text for the computer and for the user. A bit like if you were having a chat conversation using text messages, you usually have blue and green, green and grey, blue and grey, whatever, so that you can see whose conversation is whose. I'm going to change the background colour of the text window here, and I'm going to set that to black, just a simple plain black background there. And because the user will be writing first, I'm going to say that they're coloured writing, so this is the foreground colour here that we want. The text colour, in other words, we'll have that as white. I mean, you can choose whatever colour scheme you want, of course, but this means that the user is going to be, I'll put in that little comment there, the user colour is white. The computer will have as green, same as we did before. And what we're going to do is make sure that the text window is blank when we start. So we'll just make sure that it is clear. Now, clear is a little function. If you type the word clear and then you press enter, you'll see that you get these two brackets. Now, we've had these brackets before on things like textwindow.writeLine and so forth, and sometimes we put something in there and sometimes we don't, but we still need them. If you don't have those brackets in there, your computer program won't work. It's just the structure, it's what the computer is expecting. So we put those brackets in there, and then what we want to do now is to have the computer constantly checking to see what we're writing. And so we need a loop here that will repeat the computer listening, then responding, that whole thing over and over again. So we're going to have a loop, and we'll use a while loop. Now, we've looked at loops before, and we've looked at how we can have loops that either loop a set number of times, or we can have a loop that loops potentially forever. So we're going to have a loop here which will loop until the response that the user writes is equal to quit. So what I'm actually writing there is while response doesn't equal quit. So that less than greater than sign there, that means is not equal to, does not equal. So while the person responding doesn't type quit, we're going to keep on looping. But of course, when they do type the word quit, then the program will end. So now, of course, we need a way of getting the user to actually enter something into response. So response here is a variable because it is storing whatever the user writes. So we'll have response equals text window dot read, which again is one of those functions like clear that you don't have anything in the brackets, but you still have to have the brackets there. So the computer reads whatever we write in the text window and stores that in the variable response. Now we have a bit of a problem here because, of course, what the user types in could be all lowercase or it could be a capital. But that is a problem. If I was to write the word hello and the word hello and the word hello, you, as a human with common sense and intelligence, would see that as the same word. But the computer won't. Those are three entirely different words. And if I was to perhaps accidentally type with caps lock on and think I've put a capital at the beginning, I'm sure you've done that before, that's another variation of the word. So we're going to have a bit of a problem here, potentially. We could have to say to the computer, all right, if the response includes the word hello, or the word hello, or the word hello, or the word hello, and then how many other variations are there going to be? What if it's a long word and, they could put random capitals in? I mean, they could be typing something stupid like that. There's all sorts of combinations. How on earth are we going to check for a word if every possible way of capitalizing it makes that word different? The answer is we simply get whatever the user types in and we turn it into lowercase. That way, we only have to ever look at the one word. No matter what capitals they use, it'll end up being dropped down to lowercase. And it's actually quite straightforward to do. If we type in response, and then we're going to make it equal, it already equals whatever the user's typed in, but now we're going to do another text manipulation method. And you'll remember from last week that whenever we want to change something to do with text or carry out some text manipulation, we start with the word text and then we put a dot. And here, of course, we can see a list of all of the different methods that we can use. And you can see there, in fact, you will have seen it there before. It's always been there. Convert to lowercase. So if I select that one, the only thing it asks me for, if I look over here on the right hand side where it tells you how to use this particular method, you can see it just simply needs one thing in brackets, and that's whatever the text is that you want to convert. And of course, the text we want to convert is the response, whatever is in that variable response. So that means that the user will type in something, the computer will store that in the variable response, and then it'll take that and make it all lowercase. So we only have to now think about having lowercase words. The computer just has to look for the lowercase words, not any other capitals. So that makes life a little bit easier. Now, the next thing we need to look at is how long we want the computer to just wait for a moment until it responds. Now, of course, we could have the computer respond instantly, but that won't make it feel very real. If you were to text someone and instantly, as soon as you had pressed send, instantly without any delay, you got a response, you would suspect that that was a bot, because that doesn't feel natural. People need time to read what you've written, to think about their response, and to type that response out. So a little bit of a delay will actually make this feel more real. If you're not convinced by that idea, then try running your program when you finished it without the delay. Just get rid of this next line and see how different it feels. So to put a delay in our program, we simply write program.delay. But we need to say how long it is. So we're going to write brackets afterwards. And in that bracket there, we're going to write how long we want the computer to wait. Now we write this, as you can see over here, in milliseconds. Now, if you're not sure how long a millisecond is, there are 1000 milliseconds in a second. So 1000 is 1 second. I'm going to put a delay in there of 2 seconds, so that's 2000 milliseconds. You can play around with that number, make it smaller, make it bigger, and see how that makes it feel a bit more natural. I know we don't really need the computer to wait to think about the response, but we want it to feel as though it's really almost like a person that we're talking to, and people will have a delay. And in fact, the best chatbots do put a slight delay in there, so they're not jumping in as soon as you've finished the last word. Okay, so we've got a delay in there. Now it's time for the computer to write the response. And if you remember at the top here, we decided that the user's text would be written in white. I'm going to copy that line of code now and just make a slight change down here because the computer color needs to be different. Well, it doesn't need to be, but I think it makes it look a little bit more, a bit easier to understand, a bit like a text conversation on your phone. Yeah, you'll have sort of blue and grey or green and grey, different colors, so you can see easily who is saying what. Now, changing the foreground color to green will not change the color of the text that's already on the text window. All it'll do now is change the color of whatever text is about to be put onto the text window. And that, of course, is the computer's response. Now, in order to work out what to say, the computer needs to look at the response, the user's text there, and have a look at it to see if there is a key word in there that it understands and can respond to. So what we're going to have to do here is have an awful lot of if statements. And there is a bit of a joke in artificial intelligence programming that it is really just a lot of if statements, and it can feel a little bit like that. And at the simple level, if statements certainly are very useful. True artificial intelligence is a little more complex than that, but we're faking artificial intelligence here, and so an if statement is fine, as long as we put enough of them in there. So what we need to do is use something that's very similar to the get subtext that we used last week. It's very, very similar. Of course, if we're using get subtext or anything like that, we always have to use this little bit text dot first of all. So we're saying if text dot. Now you can see the get subtext. Where is it? There we are, get subtext. Now with get subtext, what we need to do, if we look over here on the right, is we need to look at the text, look at where we're starting to look in that text and how long we're looking at it, and then pull that out. But that's not quite right. We aren't looking for the word hello to be at the 10th character and 5 characters long. It could be the first word, it could be the last word. So we don't know where it's going to be. So that doesn't really make sense. So instead of get subtext, what we're looking for is subtext. We're looking to see whether a particular word is inside whatever the user has written. So this here just has 2 parameters. You can see on the right here, text. So what text is it we're looking at? Well, that of course is the response. And subtext. So what is it that we are looking for? So in brackets, we're going to say is subtext. So we're looking inside the response variable, then a comma. And then what word is it we're looking for? Now remember that we turned everything lowercase earlier on. So whatever we type here must be lowercase. If we were to look for the word hello there with a capital letter, it will never find that even if we typed hello with a capital H. Because of course we've now changed the response variable so it's all lowercase. So there can be no capitals now in that variable. So we can only look for lowercase, but that makes it a lot easier. So we're saying here, if text.is subtext, so if the word hello is found, is subtext inside the variable response, then what do? Well, then we're going to write a response. So we'll do a text window dot write line, and then we'll put in whatever we think is a suitable response. So if they've written the word hello, or if they've written something that contains the word hello, what are we going to say? I'm just going to put hello there you. There we are. Now, of course, it's not just going to have that one word and that one response. We want to look for lots of different words. So we'll have the if this word is in there, else if text dot is subtext, response, comma, and another word. So if the word hello isn't there, but another word is. Let's try the word goodbye. So there we are. Then, so we're going to have this line here over and over again. So if the word hello isn't there, then is the word goodbye in there? In which case, what do? Well, what I'm going to do is copy and paste this line here. So all I'm doing is changing the response. So what will the computer say if it finds the word goodbye in there? I'm going to say, oh, was I boring you? Okay. Now, at this point, you've got the else if line and the response line. And what you're going to do now is take those 2 lines, that pair of lines there, and copy and paste them over and over again. And each time you do, all you're needing to do is change the word you're looking for, so the is subtext, so you'll change that word there. Let's have the tech train, so it's not even a single word, that's a phrase we're looking for now. And then it'll be whatever the response is. That's my favorite channel. Have you subscribed yet? There we go. And then this one here, let's have Justin. So again, lowercase because we turned everything lowercase. And then I'll say, he's my favorite YouTuber. There we go. So you can carry on like this. You can have as many of these pairs of lines as you want. Just be aware that obviously here, if instead of the tech train, it was the hello train, just for sake of argument there, so the word hello was in there, the computer will never find that because it will stop at this point. It's found the word hello there. So what the computer will do is look for this word, and if it's there, respond to it and ignore everything underneath it. Only if it doesn't find that word does it go on to the next word. If it does find that, again, it will ignore everything underneath it. So you want to kind of prioritize this so that the words you're already looking for are at the top, and maybe some of the longer phrases that don't matter so much are further down. Now, what happens then when you've finished this? And you can obviously add to this over time as you know, keep adding to that as much as you want. But of course, what we want to do eventually is to end our if statement. So to end an if statement, when we're finished with all of those, we simply write the word end if and start a new line there. Now, because we've finished developing the response that the computer is going to write, we need to change the color of the text back, because the next thing that's going to happen is the user will write something. So let's take this line at the top there that changes the text color back to white and put this at the bottom. And we now have just one line to put to finish our program. If you remember, at the very beginning of this, we had a loop, and that loop would repeat looking for these words and responding to them over and over again until the user typed the word quit. So because we've started a loop up here and all of this here is inside that loop, we need to finish that loop. We can't have a loop unfinished. So what we'll do is put end while, like that. And there we go. So let's run this program now and see what happens. Okay, so have I mistyped background? Oh, I did. Background color I should have put up there. There we are, background color. That's what happens when I write and talk at the same time. So there we are, color equals black. Background color equals black in speech marks. There we go, let's try that again then. So, bring that onto the window so you can see it. So obviously if we were to type nonsense like banana, then it's not going to respond to us because it doesn't recognize that word. We haven't programmed that word. But if I was to write the word hello there, now I haven't looked for the words hello there. Nowhere in the code did I put hello there, but I did of course put hello as a keyword. But I've written it with a capital H and I've only looked for a lowercase. So what happens? We have a 2-second delay, of course, and then the computer responds, and it responds, of course, in green. Now, let's put, do you enjoy watching the Tech Train videos? So there we are, and let's see what it says. That's my favorite channel. Have you subscribed yet? And let's now put, I have to go now. Goodbye. And then the computer will say, oh, was I boring you? Because of course it looked for that word goodbye. So to some extent I had to know what the keywords and phrases were that I was looking for, of course, but the more of them you put in there, the more realistic it gets. Now, if you're doing this with a friend or a family member, then what you could do is this, and this is something that I do with my students in a classroom situation. Once they've got the idea of this, I then have them all create their programs without anyone else seeing the keywords they're using, and they often end up putting each other's names in there and things like that, of course. And then when you have done that, run the program and just let the other person sit there and see what happens. So get them to write words out, and they can then see the responses. And what I get them to do, and again you could do this, is to say how realistic that feels. And of course what they can do is let you know what phrases, what sentences, what words didn't get a response. And then you can think of, okay, well, I'll take those words and add it in and make it more realistic. So this is a program that you can add to over time to make it more and more realistic. So there we are, how to create a simple chatbot using Small Basic. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you create a really good chatbot, I'd love to see it. So if you are writing in Small Basic, you can obviously just copy and paste this as text. You can also click the publish button there, and if you click the publish button at the top, then your program appears on the web. So I've clicked that publish button, it's now on the web. And in fact, if you were to click on that link or use this code TQD391 at the end of this address, smallbasic.com/program ? and then that code, you'll be able to actually see this program on the internet. And in fact, I believe it will run on the internet as well. So you can actually have a look at that and you can publish yours. Send me the link. So if you do this, put your address, put the link for your chatbot as a comment below this video, and I will test it out and let you know what I think. So thank you very much indeed for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, then as the computer has said, the chatbot right here has said, make sure you subscribe so you know when the next video in this series goes live. If you liked the video, then it would be fantastic if you could click that like button as well. And any questions or comments, do leave them below and I will do my best to respond as soon as possible. So thank you very much indeed for watching. I'll look forward to seeing you again in another video. Bye for now.